morning. I'm here with Daphne Wightman this morning, and I got to tell you, we're here to talk about a very, very special person, special to Carleton, but special to this community as well. And I don't want to take any of your thunder away, so I'm just going to let you go. The lady we're talking about is Brenda Buck.
Well, Brenda was quite the role model for people at Carleton, men and women. She was a person that I would describe as having no quit. She played intersectional, she was competitive, she, even while she was undergoing therapy for ovarian cancer, she was out there playing in intersectionals with, no hair and just being as vigorous as she could be. And one of the things that was really interesting was that in 2002, I had gone to do a pilgrimage across Spain, and she was very interested in learning about that, and she said to me, "Can I come with you?" And I had already made a pact with two other women, and we agreed that we would not add on any extras because it gets tricky with accommodation and things. So she, although she was disappointed in that, she eventually got there. The next year she booked in with another member from Carleton, and she did part of the Camino. Now, she was pretty sick at that point and she wasn't able to do it all, but she did make the effort and was quite satisfied with what she was able to do. So this was a woman who didn't let obstacles stand in her way. When I first met her, and this was the 90s, and there was a lot of downsizing going on in industry. I was affected by it at regional government, and she was affected by it at Nortel. So she lost her job, and shortly thereafter, her father died, and then she got the diagnosis of ovarian cancer. So that was a pretty big blow for most people, but did she let it stop her? No, not at all. She was amazing. And one of the things she did was become Carleton's overall club captain. Not the ladies captain, but the overall captain. And in doing so, she was a role model for women in a sense of assuming leadership. She managed to arrange, which is always a little bit of bone of contention, she managed to arrange so that working women could play on Saturday morning along with the men in a very amicable way. Like, nobody was getting shut out, and how she did that, I don't know. But we ran our Saturday league, the men played their competitions on Saturday, and it all worked out fine. The other thing she did was, and John, you can be knowledgeable about this if you want to jump in, but men's league closing has always been a big deal, right?
Very.
So, much to the chagrin of the women, we kind of reluctantly gave over the day to the men because they needed it all. But no, she took it a step further and she said, well, we're just going to have a ladies' weekend. We'll all go away on the weekend. And so it got to be a tradition. We went to Malone, New York, and then later on, when you had to have a passport to get into the U.S., we decided to make the venue Canadian, and we all went to Royal Laurentian. Now, you know what? That's been going on since she instituted it. The last one we had was at Royal Laurentian. I think it was 2018. So, you got to say she made an impression with that move, and everybody was happy about that. The men were happy. We got out of town. We had sort of good fun and golf as well over the weekend. So I'm hoping that comes back actually as soon as we get out from underneath this COVID thing. So she, in spite of her cancer, and she was really sick at Royal Laurentian the last time she went, and she did all of that, and I think she was probably the first female overall captain
Yes, I
in
understand.
the area.
Yeah.
And Nancy Garrett's came after her, so you know we had the tradition of doing that when people were available to do it. And so it was an amazing journey with Brenda. I just want to go to my other page here so I don't forget anything.
Yeah.
One of the things she did with the men is, as she was club captain, is she didn't try to take over completely. You know, when there were things that specifically related to men, she delegated that to the men. And, you know, eventually she had to relinquish her role because she was so sick. But I mean, in all that time, she just did stuff when she was going through chemo, and, you know, it was amazing to see her. What I need to tell you is about, there were other things that we were inspired to do because of her. For example, she once said to me, you know, Daphne, I'd like to raise money for ovarian cancer research. And she said, nobody has done it to now because, frankly, there aren't that many survivors, which was very sad, but, you know, certainly illustrated the need for giving money. So we did. The first year we ran it, and she participated, but we just, you know, asked for volunteers, and we got a whole group from men, women, whoever. And we ran this thing, and we got we designated the researcher that she wanted the money to go to, and excuse me, she was there, and you have the picture of her presenting the researcher. With the first year we raised $30,000.
Wow.
And by the time we got to year 3, we had raised over $90,000.
Wow. Wow. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So amazing, right?
Yeah.
And
just another way that she's affected her community, not just our club.
yeah.
But she wanted to do something for everyone.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
absolutely, and that was her MO. Like, she was just no quit. We're just going to do this.
Yeah.
And so that was one influence. And then what she really did was focus on competition. She designated me the captain for intersectionals, regular intersectionals, and she made sure that we never had to make a captain's pick. Everybody was on board with doing it. Everybody took the time to try out, so there were there's no jealousy that way. And and if you said you were going to play that day, she was pretty adamant that you played that day. We had one incident where someone didn't feel too comfortable, and then they said, oh no, yes, I can play, and they couldn't. They had to quit in the middle. Well, you know what? Her first reaction is, she never should have said that. She's, because we had no chance to substitute with an alternate then. So she was tough, but she was fair. So that was really good too. And what else?
Well.
Okay, so there are a couple of tributes that have arisen from that. And one of them is that we tried for a long time to get senior intersectionals going for women.
Yeah.
And we went to the OVGA, and they would say things like, oh no, we're already doing other events, and the clubs won't give up their time for a seniors event. Excuse me. We schmoozed for a long time, and then finally what we decided to do was do our own. We just got Rideau View women together, Highlands women together, Camelot and ourselves, and we did like a Carleton Cup thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, what do you know? We only did that 1 year, and then the next thing I know, I'm schmoozing the tournament chair of the OVGA, a women's tournament chair in Florida. I got her on the golf course, and she said, you know, I think it's time to do senior women's intersectionals. Yay,
Yeah, finally.
So we did that, and then I thought, well, who was sort of the, you know, the inspiration for this? And of course it was Brenda. So I, and Sam had, her husband, Sam Buck, had donated a trophy for our little informal event that we did that first year. And so I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we named the trophy, the big trophy, that when the official intersectionals were the inaugural year. And so they did name it. We talked them into naming it the Brenda Buck Memorial Trophy.
I think I have a picture of that too, right?
Yes, we do have a picture of that. She had passed by that point. She
Yeah.
died in 2007. And so that was a tribute. And the nice thing about it was her sister, Deb Bradley, was on that inaugural intersection
Cool,
team.
cool.
So we didn't win that year. Rivermead won, but Deb presented the trophy to the Rivermead team. We beat Rivermead the next year though, so we got it back. And then what happened lately, in the here and now, this was in 2011, in the here and now, for the very first time, Highlands women won it. And they won it with 4 expats from Carleton. And the tribute from one of it was put on Facebook about what an inspiration she was. So we can be really proud of that too, that she's inspiring other clubs
Absolutely.
in that way. And there's a picture of the team too that I think I gave you.
Yeah,
so,
I have that, and I'll put that down so you can see
yeah.
it.
Go ahead.
She inspired a few other people here too. I understand she inspired a young junior.
Oh, yes. I was saving this story for the last because it's a good story. We still do let juniors who are really good juniors play on the men's and ladies team if they're good enough. So Erica Godwin, I think she might have been 13 or 14, got to play with the women. And she happened to play in my group along with Mary Paul Romaine. And on the 14th hole, Erica stood up, she hit the ball, and it went out of bounds. Not on the left, on the right, on the side of 13. Well, she was distraught. She burst into tears. She didn't know what she was supposed to do, didn't know the rule. Mary Paul and I are standing there going, oh, this poor kid. And Brenda was on the green on 13 with her group, and we called her over so she could explain the rule to Erica. Hopefully that would do it. And Erica's there in tears. And so Brenda came up and said, what's the problem here? Well, she just hit it out of bounds. We think, we don't know what to do. And Brenda said, Erica, it was out of bounds. Suck it up, get up on the tee and hit another one. So Erica has for the last 3 or 4 years been our ladies champion. So do you think that little episode didn't have an effect on her?
Yeah.
And it's a good story to tell.
Yeah.
So.
What else can you share with us about Brenda?
Well, she lived through a lot of, not only did her, and I mean, she was sick doing this, and she was covering up how bad it was. Martin Jackson graciously took over from her when she just couldn't fulfill the captain's role anymore. But if you think back and all the business about her losing her job and her father, then she ends up at the May Court in hospice, and her mother dies, and she's too sick to go. So somehow they managed to pipe in the funeral to her as she's there. So, she had a tough life, but God bless her, she was really a trooper.
Yeah. And an inspiration to everybody here, and I'm sure glad you were able to share her story, because I didn't want her to be forgotten in any way. Our first female captain possibly in all of Ottawa, and certainly led by example, and just a tremendous person. Not just for us, but our community. You can see what she's done for the whole community, raising money for ovarian cancer, because nobody else was doing it. Nobody else lived that long.
Yeah.
So, that's just a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing with us today. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome. I was pleased to have the opportunity to do that.
All right.